Please share your screen. Dr. Smarajit Patnaik is a consultant at Apollo Hospital, Bhubaneswar, and probably because of this pandemic, that people from outside Mumbai or members from outside Maharashtra, from Gujarat, Dhavalbhai, from Bhubaneswar, Dr. Smarajit, they are able to present, and we are able to, share their knowledge. Yes, Dr. Smarajit, please.
Good afternoon, sir. It's a great opportunity to present in the Bombay Orthopedic Society clinical meeting. And as always, BOS is boss. So I am from Bhubaneswar. BOS is boss, yeah. So I will go to my presentation. Here I am taking you back to 2007. So I talk you about a 45-year-old lady who comes about 7 years back with a pain over the right groin. On and off she has for last 25 years. And there is a severe it's like for last 6 months, the pain is more severe, continuous, and there is some amount of rest pain also. There's associated limping, and the swelling she has over the right thigh has been slowly growing over years, and there is no recent increase in size. He has obviously difficulty in some amount of squatting, sitting cross-legged, and unable to do his activities of daily life comfortably. There are no constitutional symptoms and no comorbidity she has. She had been attempted with biopsy twice, once on the medial aspect, the apex of the swelling, and once on the posterior aspect. On examining the swelling, it's a circumscribed 16 into 8 huge swelling, which is basically posterior, medio, anteriorly. There are some biopsy scars. The hip movements are very painful and grossly restricted. There's no obvious limb line discrepancy, and there is no neurovascular deficit or any lymphadenopathies. So these are the X-rays, the AP view and the lateral view, the pelvis with both hips. Now here, as we see this X-rays, there are some things which I will, for wanting of time, I will try to concise my presentation. The arrow marks here, well, makes you, there is an obvious osteoarthritis there. And in the tumor, this is probably an end-on view. And there are some calcification, which is also suspicious here. And usually these cases presents with some osteochondral lesions in the joint. Obviously, she did not have. We had a CT scan. And here, if you see this osteochondroma, if at all, whatever it's a benign tumor, it has got definitely an intra-articular and an extra-articular part. So these are the basic X-ray sort of impressions on which we go ahead. And the initial issues for us was obviously we are looking at a tumor. So whether it's a benign or a malignant one, or there is a malignant transformation, is what has been making us think long about it until even it's like 13 years follow-up. And probably now only we are getting the answer of what it has been. And the inherent vascularity of this tumor and its site, the size is quite huge. Site is also not very normal. There are some scars around, and the surrounding structures and the neurovascular bundles also made us to think about them. And obviously about the hip joint, it's been a painful arthritic hip. Well, why? Whether it's because of some amount of avascular necrosis, or maybe long-standing altered biomechanics of the hip, or there is some amount of tumor dysplasias, or a combination of each one of these. And as we see these patients, obviously our expectation of the patient is what we have to cater to, and we have to take care of the financial issues around whenever we are planning the management of these type of cases. Now, the basic workup, the blood investigations were essentially with the normal, the alkaline phosphatase, ESRs and all were normal. And we did an incisional biopsy again through one of the scars on the posterior. We went to, it's basically because we wanted to go posteriorly in the final surgery also. And clinically and radiologically skeletal survey did not show us any other osteochondral lesions. And we took a CT scan to see if there is any cartilage calcifications and the cartilage cap thickness and all that. And also the neurovascular bundle and tumor vascular supply is what we were worried about. So we did an angiogram also. And so basically at this point of time, we were dealing with probably a benign, a solitary osteochondroma of the proximal right femur with a secondary osteoarthritis of the hip joint, probably because of avascular necrosis. Now, what are the surgical issues here in this particular case? Now, should we leave it alone? Why do we go? And she's living with that for 25 years. But for last 6 months, it's been painful. The intensity of the pain has been increasing, and she has associated breast pain. Now, if then, now what to do? Now, she expects at 45 years of age, obviously she expects a very mobile and stable hip. So is excision alone a solution? Excision and arthrodesis or any sort of a reconstruction? And do the osteotomies have any role in this? Well, this tumor has definitely an intra and an extraarticular part. So if we are planning for any sort of a reconstruction, whether we are planning for an allograft or a custom megaprosthesis, when we think about a custom prosthesis, whether the longevity of the prosthesis and the survival of the patient, if it's a purely benign lesion, she's 45, she should not outlive the prosthesis. And here the issue again was of the abductor mechanism. So can it be preserved and can it be restored? So unless we do that, probably we are not doing a justice. So acetabular component, well, finance was an issue, so we have to think about what type of acetabulum we want. And femoral stem here is a challenge here, considering the modularity we want to use, the fixation types we want to use, the amount of stability we want to give immediately, early post-operative period and later. And if at all, if it's an unstable situation, so does it require any constraint in choice of our prosthesis? So all along, before the surgery, we knew that we were dealing with a benign condition, but we couldn't resist the high index of suspicion of a malignant transformation of this particular clinical condition. So anyway, we went ahead with the surgery on 23rd of October 2007 with an informed consent, adequate blood. We were prepared for the frozen sections, radiolucent table, image intensify, epidural anesthesia, left lateral position, posterior approach to the hip, which extended distally along the shaft. And the procedure which we did was we did a wide local tumor resection. We did a femoral osteotomy. We preserved the abductor mechanism, and we choose an implant called a RIF system, which is a fully coated system, very modular. It's got a lateral flange. It has got options of distal locking screws also to give us immediate stability. So this is the picture which to show us the intactness of the abductor which we preserved, and this is the head cut. And this, as we go right from posteriorly, we went anteriorly, and this is the retrieval of the entire tumor. And this is the bed, and this is we take a sort of a trial to see our length measurement and the offset measurement. And this is the acetabulum site. And we settled down for an acetabular, cemented acetabulum in this particular case. And here for the reaming of preparation of the reef stem, it's 1:1 reaming. And this is the fully coated stem with distal locking options. And this is the stem goes in and with a jig. And this is the picture which shows with the trochanteric part offset with the abductors attached to it and the fully coated stem with distal locking in situ and the hip in situ getting reduced. So post-operative period was uneventful. Blood, we had to give abduction trace, DVD prophylaxis, patient was put on high protein diet, regular physiotherapy. She was mobilized early within 2 to 3 days. It was way back in 2007. So regular surgical dressings were done. Now biopsy came as benign lesion. So this is the immediate post-operative period X-rays. These are the X-rays at the 2 months follow-up. These are the X-rays at the 8 months follow-up. These are at 1.5 years of follow-up. At 6 years of follow-up, so this wonderful flange, the flange consolidation which happens here in this particular cases with the fully coated rib stem. And this is the 13 years follow-up. And yesterday, in fact, I got this video of during the lockdown, she has been working a lot in her home, and she has developed some osteoarthritis of the knee for which she has been using the walking stick for about a month or so now. But she has survived her tumor, and probably now we can safely say that it's been a benign tumor. So considering this reef type of prosthesis, so here it's a better flange consolidation, and these are fully coated hydroxyapatite coated stems. So these definitely contribute to a good results in these type of conditions. So thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for your patient hearing. I invite questions.
Thank you, Smarajit, for an excellent follow-up of this patient. Now, from the beginning, Dr. Mukhi, would you have treated the patient in this way or any differently?
Little differently, but I must congratulate him for it's a difficult case. Yes, you've done an excellent job and a good follow-up. Only little differences of opinion will persist because I don't excise these benign tumors that much. The tumor becomes malignant only at its tip. This exostosis becomes malignant. Rest of the bone is normal. So you need not, you have to just shape it to the size of the femur. And a long stem regular
But
would
Dr.
have done the trick, and I would have used uncemented ceramic on ceramic.
But it was a, let's not discuss about the bearing part. It was a sessile tumor. So how far you have excised? How do you know that? Because
with the shaft, line of the shaft, go from below and just shape it so that you don't remove any of the things till the lesser trochanter. That's a technical problem. And you see the cup is loosened out here. The limp is because the acetabular cup has given way. Can I have the last X-ray? Last follow-up X-ray? The cup is loose.
That is a, that we agree that it would have been better to put less cup, a ceramic liner, that different thing. We discuss about the pathology of the case.
That's it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, excellent job.
Would you have thought of from the beginning that it could be a chondrosarcoma? How will you ascertain that it's chondrosarcoma or a osteochondroma?
Yeah, exostosis with that much enlargement is chondrosarcoma until proved otherwise.
Is the treatment is any different in chondrosarcoma? Suppose it were in chondrosarcoma.
Yeah, in chondrosarcoma you have to do a radical excision, which is rightly done, which I agree.
Yes,
whereas in exostosis, you should have been in line with the femur. That's all.
Yeah. Any other question in the YouTube?
Questions coming in from YouTube.
Yeah.
One is Dr. Mohan Desai saying that resection of proximal femur was not needed.
Yeah.
There is definitely going to be a difference of opinion on that.
Yeah.
Dr. Antao is asking, why was CT guided biopsy not thought of earlier in view of a benign lesion?
Okay, Dr.
No, CT guided biopsy was all done. It was done twice biopsy before the patient came to us, and we planned to do an FNSC, and following that, there is suspicion of malignant transformation in any part of the tumor. So that's why we did an open biopsy also for the tumor. But then it was such a huge mass, which was almost basically encompassing the entire of the proximal femur. Probably we initially started to do doing an extended trochanteric osteotomy. Even what we did was we curated the medullary canal and we sent that for frozen sections also. So we were pretty sure, because all these frozen sections were also did not show any malignant tumor. But then although we wanted to preserve a part of the lateral part of along with the greater trochanter, the lateral shaft of lateral cortex of the femur, we although wanted to preserve, but it was very difficult to remove the entire tumor, whatever had to be removed in totality. And at that point of time, we planned to do a transverse resection. And that is what we had in our initial plan also. And that is why we choose Reef as a system, because it's like entire proximal femur replacement. And that's what we had in our plan.
Yeah. Before we conclude, last question by Dr. Sangeet. In the meantime, may I request Dr. Mukhi to share his screen? Yeah, Dr. Sangeet.
Was this the longest stem available?
Was this the
longest stem available? You could have gone little
longer. Yeah. It was the longest stem available.
Now,
it was the longest stem available.
Okay. The issue in her is she is a very low demand patient. Probably that is the reason why we don't see the stem and the shaft fracture. Otherwise, whatever the literature suggests. So one good thing about these fully coated stems are that even the distal, there has never been an issue of breakage of these locking screws, because it incorporates so early, and these screws are basically for early and immediate post-operative stability, rotational stability. The fully coated stem does the trick basically there. And even we wanted to preserve as much of bone we could have, so that it would have given a sort of a Crow 3 or Crow 4 sort of a situation where Reef would have been even a better, probably functional result to this lady. But then at 45, we were always thinking in terms.
Could you take out these screws?
No, it's never required.
Taken.
It's not required. It's not required.
In the last follow-up, what is happening around the proximal uncovered stem? Is there some new bone which is forming, or we couldn't find out what is happening there?
Around 6 years X-ray which we took, there was a little bit of bone like osteosis, whatever hyperosteosis or myositis, some sort of ossification was forming around the trochanteric part. But from 6 years to 13 years X-ray, we again see that it goes back to a sort of a more of a osteolysis, and maybe the muscle, some sort of a approximation into some sort of hold into the prosthesis, basically. So up to 6 years, definitely, yeah, there was a situation where we were thinking in terms of a ossification around the trochanteric area. But again, from 6 to 15 years, we don't see that. And that's maybe one of the reasons for her lurching and limping also, and for her getting into the stick also.
The principle in all these locking, stems is that you should take out the screws maybe 2-3 years down after the surgery, so that bone acts as a load bearing, so that there will be new bone formation. If you see the last X-ray, there is a considerable amount of probably stress yielding and the cortex becoming thinner and thinner. Thank you, Dr. Smarajit.
Thank you, sir.
Follow up.
Thank you.
Dr. Mukhi to present his case.
Thank you.
I thank the Bombay Orthopedic Society and my team who have cooperated with me to present this case.